Much like the path leading up to the top of Gastelugache, that little island there, learning a second language as an adult can be a long, arduous, and nonlinear process. But one way to help learners along that path to success in second language learning is studying abroad. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So you probably heard at some point that studying abroad is the key to success in language learning. And there are some theoretical reasons to think that study abroad actually does promote linguistic development. One crucial ingredient for learning a second language is being exposed to it. And participating in a study abroad allows learners to engage in a whole host of unique opportunities where they get to be exposed to authentic language use. They can do this through their studies. They can do this navigating their daily life in their new host city. They can do this by eavesdropping on public transportation, but also through speaking and having conversations with native speakers. That conversational interaction is also really crucial for developing a strong and robust second language system. Through conversational interaction, learners can test their hypotheses about their linguistic system, notice the gaps in their own knowledge, and negotiate for meeting when they have a communication breakdown. All of those things come together to help them learn. Besides linguistic development, we know that learners also experience increased cultural sensitivity. Their intercultural awareness broadens during a study abroad, and this is due to experiencing new things in a new environment. And that can have a profound effect on learners' sense of self, self-perceptions, and self-efficacy. And these new cultural experiences can range from going out and enjoying a taza de chocolate and some churros with some new friends, sitting around the dining table with your host family and talking about politics, or going out and exploring the nightlife in your new host city. So study abroad is a unique opportunity for learners, and in the United States at least, short-term study abroad, programs that last 8 weeks or less, are the most popular option for students. And it's been this way for at least the last decade. Interestingly, they're the least studied in terms of empirical research on second language learning. So I'm going to talk to you about my research where we looked at short-term programs, and we attempted to look at growth over time during the study abroad. We were looking for changes in learners' linguistic abilities in terms of their comprehension and their speaking. And we were looking at some non-linguistic outcomes in terms of their self-perceptions about how flexible and adaptable they were in the face of new situations. So the students in this research, I'm going to talk about two different projects. There are college-age students studying abroad in Spain. One group of learners were from UT and another group from Temple University in Philadelphia. So the UT students, we'll start with them. We looked at their linguistic outcomes. And they were studying abroad in Santander in northern Spain. That was an intermediate group of learners. And in Alicante, in the Mediterranean coast, that was a more advanced group. And we tested them at the beginning of their study abroad and then again at the very end of their study abroad. We looked at a whole host of measures to assess their linguistic abilities, but I'm going to start by talking about their comprehension abilities. And so we looked at their ability to comprehend grammar and vocabulary, and we found that our intermediate level learners showed gains immediately after a short-term study abroad in both dimensions, whereas the advanced learners showed significant gains in their ability to comprehend new vocabulary. We also looked at their speaking ability, and you can measure that in a whole bunch of different ways, but here we're going to talk about complexity. So the number of words they use to produce an idea, and we see that the intermediate and the advanced level learners make significant gains only after 5 weeks of being immersed in the target country. We also looked at their accuracy in speaking, and here we coded for the percentage of errors that they produced when speaking in Spanish. Our intermediate level group decreased in the number of errors, which is what we hoped for, and our advanced level group stayed about the same, but they were pretty accurate to begin with. So we've seen that, at least in terms of linguistic outcomes, learners make changes, some of them do, immediately after study abroad. We wanted to know whether these changes were maintained 5 weeks post-study abroad in the absence of further contact with the target language and the target culture. So this was the group from Temple University. They were studying abroad in Oviedo, Spain. We tested them at the beginning and the end, and then 5 weeks later when they were back in their home university. In terms of their speaking complexity, we see that this group increased immediately after study abroad, and those changes were maintained 5 weeks later. We also looked at their accuracy, and here it comes. And we see that their percentage of errors decreased immediately after study abroad, but went back up 5 weeks later. So in the absence of using their target language daily, we see accuracy goes down, errors go up. We also ask these learners to reflect on their flexibility and adaptability in novel circumstances and scenarios, which are plentiful in a study abroad environment, right? Because learners are exposed to a whole host of new things. We measured this in a couple different ways and combined it into a composite score, which we'll just call cognitive flexibility. And what we found for these learners was that post-study abroad, immediately after, they perceived themselves to be much more flexible and adaptable in the face of new circumstances. And 5 weeks later, those same self-perceptions were maintained. So even after a short stay abroad, their own self-perceptions are changed. So if we take a moment to sort of summarize and think about these findings, we see that learners at different proficiency levels receive benefits from even a short stay abroad, and they're both linguistic and non-linguistic. If we step back and take a panoramic view of these results and think about how they fit into other research on study abroad, what we find is that even a short stay is worth undertaking, and we should encourage students to go and study abroad because they're going to receive some kind of benefit, whether it's linguistic or non-linguistic, and yeah.